Hello everyone, I am Akshita and today we will be talking about strategy. So what is strategy? What is strategic thinking? Who is a strategic planner? So we will be discussing all this. So basically to start with, what is a strategy? So as you all know, strategy is nothing but coming up with some action of plan to solve some problems. And strategic planning has become very popular these days in the corporate world. So any kind of plan that you create to solve a problem is nothing but strategy. So how will you become a strategic thinker? Yes, of course, everyone can be a strategic thinker, but how will you achieve this? So, to be a strategic thinker, you should be open minded. You should think from all angles. You should be ready to take initiatives. You should always think, why is it done this way? Why not the other way? And more importantly, you should always make time for strategic thinking, because this doesn't happen overnight or by discussing with someone else. This happens with time to think. When you come up with a problem, sit and think about the solutions available. Think about the past, think about the future, and think about the present, and then you will be able to come up with a great solution. Strategic thinking should always change with the changing environment or the economic conditions or the industrial conditions. So, based on what kind of organization you are working for, make sure to do your own researches regarding the industrial changes, the growth, the future trends, what was happening in the past, and how is the scenario at the present, and what could happen in the future. So you should evaluate all these conditions and then come up with a great solution. And it's also very important to adapt to the new change. Scenarios might not be same all the time, so you'll always have to be adaptable to the new changing conditions. And also make sure you think a lot, you observe new things, and then come up with the points or the solutions. More importantly, what I have learned these days is to come up with great ideas, it doesn't take time, but it takes space. So sometimes you have to give space to your own mind. Maybe you'll have to read something new, watch something new, and look at how your competitors are working, analyze things, and sit peacefully and then think. So to have a great idea, always make sure once you come up with the problem, make sure you analyze the problem, you sit and discuss with your team, or maybe you sit alone and analyze the problem, analyze your past and future trends, and then as an individual, think what you can contribute or how you can maximize your efforts to help your organization. Also make sure to think personally, also individually as well. So if you know how you want to grow your career in next 3 to 5 years, you'll always start thinking better to upskill yourself. So to upskill yourself, you should have exposure. It might be macro or micro exposure. So getting international exposure is very important. So you'll know what's happening in the world and how you can implement those strategies within your organization. So while planning a strategy, always think about two things, that is long-term goal and short-term goal. You should always be very clear about your vision, and then also make sure what you have to work on and what you don't have to work with. So you should always make points about this and then analyze all the data that you have collected to solve the concerned problem. So the few steps that will help you to do a strategic to come up with a strategy is read a lot, do brainstorming, sit and discuss with the concerned team. So this will help in coming up with a solution. So it is also very important to think about the future, to think about the past, uh, to make future guesses, to think about the micro trends and the macro trends as well, and very importantly build scenarios. So create imaginary scenarios. What if this happens, and what could be the result? What if something else happens? What could be its result? So start thinking like this. And when you analyze past trends, so you cannot just think why what has happened, but you should also think about why it has happened that way, why not the other way. Same with the future also. So why will it happen that way, why not something else? And again the same applies to the present also. Why is it happening this way, why not in the other way? So now you know how to build a strategy, like how to think like a strategic thinker. So what you have to do if you have to become a strategic thinker. Now if you have done all this and you have something, you have a great idea to put it to your organization, to your managers. Let me give you a tip here. Do not unveil your strategy in your strategic meeting. That's very important. You should first analyze the scenario. You should first analyze what is your organization's expectation. Always engage in pre-meeting discussions, and then make sure to gather some information about the expectations and about the objections, and be prepared with the related responses. Only then, once you are confident, go ahead and reveal your strategy. And yeah, so whenever we come up with some new strategies, it is the main focus will always be on the revenue generation. It will always be on how will you fuel the organization's revenue. So don't randomly come up with any number. Always do your research. Check with what has happened with your previous strategies and what was the revenue trend. Make sure to analyze the current conditions, micro and macro conditions as per your industry, and then come up with the real numbers to explain in the meetings or to your managers. So the next step would be, once your organization accepts your strategy, how will you be accountable to it? How will you track your progress? So that is also a very important stage. First, make sure to write down your assumptions and have a clear-cut idea of how it is progressing. Also make sure you have a clear track on who will be doing what and how will you be monitoring them. Also make sure to improve everything. So you should be ready to change, though your strategy might be very solid. According to time and the changing environment, you'll definitely have to be very adaptable at this particular point, wherein you should be ready for any kind of change in the industry. Also make sure to have a certain time frame. Suppose if you have a strategy and you'll always should have a time constraint, you should clearly know when you will be starting this implementing the strategy and by when you will be expecting the results. And if any process in between is getting delayed, you should always keep an eye on that and make sure you work on that particular thing. Otherwise, you will not be able to achieve the target on time. Always ask. So the next step in strategic thinking would be smart analysis or smart interrogations of things. Always try to question yourself about what was your plan and how is it running now, how is it implemented, and what could be the scenarios or circumstances in the future. The first question would be, are you failing to meet your initial expectations? If yes, always make sure to look for an alternate, or if there is a promising alternate, just blindly go ahead with the alternate, because most of the time we'll have to adapt to the current scenarios. There is nothing wrong in changing scenarios when there is far better directions for growth and development. So always be adaptable, and that will definitely lead you to success. And if in case if you come up with a new idea in between, make sure to consult your seniors or colleagues, and you can take advices from them. Most of the time everyone, all of us, most of the time it's like all of us have a strategy until we are punched in our mouth. So, otherwise we don't open up. So don't be so shy about your plan. Always be open to discussion. Give your plan. It may not work, but still it's fine. Rather than sitting idle, it's always good to give your ideas. And what if it clicks? What if it works? So think in a positive way and definitely give your strategies to the organization. It will definitely help your career growth, and it will also help your organization's growth as well. And suppose there is some changes, new circumstances coming up, it's okay, just embrace the improvisation. We are all in a society where change is accepted. Okay, it might be environmental change, political change, or economical change. Whatever it is, it can be accepted, and there is always a solution to any problem. Finally, always try to recognize the problems or the limitations that your strategy has, and then go for the implementation. Thank you.